So we're now on Daf Kuf Heyamid Beis. We'll start on the bottom of Kuf Heyamid Aleph. Omer Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Yosef or Rabbi Yanai Lo Shanu. When we accepted and validated Mayim Rishonim in hot water, that's only Kishe'ein Yad Soledes Bahen. Now Yad Soledes Bahen, which literally translates as water that would, or any substance that would burn your hand if you touched it, is the subject of a great controversy. Exactly what is Yad Soledes Bahen? According to one Shita, Yad Soledes Bahen, and this is based on a Rashi in Maseches Shabbos, um, it means that on the stomach of, if hot water would drip onto the stomach of a baby, and the baby has very sensitive skin, then it would scald that. And the other sheet is that Yad Soledes Bahen means that your fingers would be, scalded. An adult, that's much hotter. And all this is relevant to Bishul on Shabbos and also Tarovis and mixing meat, Isa v'heter. But not even for our purposes, Aval Yad Soledes Bahen ain't notli b'hen. You don't pour onto your hands water that's so hot that it would scald your hands. Now, I'm not sure exactly why this is so. It would seem to me that, who would want to scald their hands? So you're not going to really do a good job. Ika demasna sefer. So it could be that this qualification that we had in the name of Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Yosef on Amud Aleph is referring to the sefer, the end of the brisa, which talks about Mayim Achronim. Achronim einotlin el betzoni aval chamin lom Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Yosef name of Rabbi Yanai lo sharu el shayad soledes bahen aval ein yad soledes bahen notli. That when we excluded hot water from Mayim Achronim, we were talking about really hot water, Yad Soledes. But if it's not Yad Soledes, then you're allowed to use hot water for Mayim Achronim according to this girsa. Michlal, what can we derive from the second Lishna? If in the second Lishna the focus is on the safe of Mayim Achronim, and here's where we exclude hot water, is the Rishonim, apparently the implication is that Afal Pisha Yad Soledes Ben Mutter. So we don't care how hot the water is for Mayim Rishonim. Even though, again, I don't know, to me it seems like, you can get a certain degree burn, but I mean, if you're able to tolerate it, I guess the halacha says go ahead with it. Well, maybe now we're operating with that other definition of Yad Soledes Ben, that if it landed on the belly of a baby, so that's not so hot, it wouldn't scald your hands. Then the Brisa says, "Em toim rishus, Omer Rav Nachman lo shana el bein tavshil letavshil, aval bein tavshil legvina chova." Right, we had this already. That if you want to eat, let's say, cheese and then meat, then you have to wash your hands. Now, it seems to me that this is all going on within one Seudah. Let me just see if anyone makes that comment here. If he eats a cheese dish first, he's obligated to wash his hands before eating a meat dish. Okay, we had that already. Okay, nobody seems to make any comment here about the fact that it's all within one su'uda. Anyway, okay, now what's the purpose of Mayim Achronim? Why is it such an absolute obligation? Amar Rabbi Yehuda Breder Rav Chiya Mipnei Ma Amar Mayim Achronim Chol Shemelach Stomus Yesh. It was quite common to use a certain kind of salt, which is called melech stomus, and it blinds the eyes. If you take your fingers and you dip it into salt, and there's a residue of salt, and then you scratch your eye, then you could chas v'shalom go blind from it. Salt to the eye is very, very dangerous for the eye. Now, modern day Dead Sea salt contains high concentrations of potassium, magnesium, calcium, sulfur, iodine, bromides, etc., etc. So you got to be really careful in the case of Dead Sea salt, not to touch your eyes. So therefore, to make sure that a person doesn't have that salt as a residue on his fingers after he eats, therefore he's got to wash his hands after the meal. Omar Abaye, u'mishtekach ki kurta bechura. Now he's telling me what is the relationship between the the melech stomus, if you would compare it to ordinary salt. So he says in melech stomus, the concentration of salt is 1 grain per core. A core is 30 sa, the equivalent of 4,320 eggs. Wow. Imagine the salt of stone is harmful, even if it's only a relationship of 1 grain of salt to a full core, which is gigantic. Amalei Rav Acha Brei Rav Ashi Kol Milcha Mai. What about regular salt? That's not melech stomus. Or what about a person who is not eating a meal, but nevertheless he's let's say weighing salt and so forth. So Omalei, let me buy. It goes without saying. Your question is obvious. Certainly, you have to wash your hands after it has contact with salt, whether it's at the end of a meal or if you're measuring out salt. Okay, Rabbosai. Now we get to part 3 of today's daf. And for this, you have to be an expert in kishuf, sorcery. So I'm telling you up front, I don't know beans about sorcery. And furthermore, I don't know if any of the Gemaras we're about to learn, which take up the majority of the Amud, are relevant today. Omar Abai, Mereish Havmina, initially I thought that Haidelo Moshi Maya Basroel Ara, why don't you pour the water of Mayim Achronim onto the ground? I thought it was Mishum Zuama, right? The water, is already fashtunken, and you don't want to pour that onto your ground, onto the floor because, it has a terrible odor. So I thought it was all a matter of cleanliness. I didn't realize that there were evil spirits involved here. Amal Limar, but my Rebbe Rabbah taught me Mishom de Sharia Ruach Ra Alayu. There are evil spirits that rest upon Mayim Achronim, and they will cause harm to somebody who walks on that spot. So therefore, you don't want it on the ground. Now, again, maybe this has to do with I don't know. Anyway, Omar Abai. Again, we're going to have this over and over and over again with Abai, who thinks that the reason we do what we do and our minhag, our custom is only because of health reasons, and we're going to find out no, it's because of demons and and witchcraft and so forth and so on. I thought, let's say Ruvain is a guest in my house. He's drinking at the table, and I want to clear off the table, take off things from the table. But maybe he's still, Ruvain, my guest, still wants to drink or wants to eat. And therefore, one does not take anything off the table when a person sitting at the table drinking, Shema Ye'era Davak, he might get so insulted that he'll choke on the food he's eating or the drink that he's drinking. So again, I thought it was a health thing. Omar Limar, my Rebbe told me, Mishum Dekashi L'Ruach Tsarda. There's a spirit which is called the Tsarda spirit. It's an evil spirit that causes a clouding of the mind. We talk about demons, and now we can talk about dementia. It's almost from the same root. Anyway, you get dementia from these demons. And why? Because he took off something from the table prematurely. Because he's taking it off and he's not going to put it back on the table. But we don't care if he's going to take it off on a temporary basis. Maybe there's too many things on the table and he wants to, and then he's going to put it back on the table. That's okay. If he takes it far away from the table, that's 4 amos away. If he's taking something off the table that could enhance the su'uda, so like for example, like this is what we have on our table here, right? So this is not something that would enhance your su'uda, and that you're allowed to take off the table when the meal comes to an end without any problems. He would not remove anything from the table, even a mortar and a pestle that he used to grind spices. Because you never know, maybe at the end he wants to use these spices. Okay, they were very, very careful about shirayim, leftovers like crumbs of bread that fell from the table. In our house, we take care of that after Shabbos, but they took care of it very seriously immediately. Mishum, and again, Abai thought that the reason for it is minakirusa, for health reasons, for cleanliness. We don't want to leave crumbs on the floor. Amalimar, but my Rebbe taught me mishum de koshi laniyusa. Wow, there's apparently an angel who's in charge of administering poverty. It's called an aval. And this administering angel of poverty enters into houses that do not handle bread with requisite cleanliness and respect. So, people trample on top of crumbs. They don't pay any attention to it. Very dangerous for poverty. Ahu gavadavi mahado alei saradataniyusa. Right? There was a certain person who got eyeballed, by the angel of poverty, what we call what's his name, the Naval. But he somehow could never. Why? Because this particular individual was very, very careful about the crumbs that fell on the floor. Immediately, he would clean them up. So you can imagine that this angel is very upset. He's got a victim that he wants. Yom Achad Korech Rifta Ayavli. Maybe one day they were out on a tiyul, and they ate bread. Lying down. They put down a blanket on the grass, and they were eating bread on the grass. Oh, the angel said, "Now I'm going to get him. He's not going to clean up the crumbs from the grass. He's in my hands." basa the achil, but to the chagrin of this angel of poverty, after this man finished eating his bread on the grass, achil aise mora, he took a shovel and akrinu liyavlish dina lenara. He uprooted grass that had the crumbs mixed into it and threw it all into the river. Shame de Ka'amar, and he overheard the voice of the angel who was so disappointed, who said, Vai di afke ahu gavra vibese. Here I thought I was at home, says the angel. I'm gonna, I have a good victim. And he threw me out of my house. Omar Abaye, another statement. Meireish, initially I always thought Avamina Hai Delo Shasi Ufya. Okay, now we're talking about the foam that floats on top of broth or another liquid. Like for example, here in our house, when my wife makes chicken soup, she spends more time clearing off the foam on the top that I can't even see than she does making the chicken soup. So initially, when I was learning this Gemara, I told my wife, "Good news! I see now. I have to really thank you so much for removing the foam." Mishumi Susa, because the foam kind of is offensive. But Amalimar, my Rebbe taught me it's way beyond that. This is not an issue of aesthetics, but Mishum de Koshi lekarsom. Now, this is a disease called karsom, or some have the text that says lebarsom. It's an inflammation in the brain. Lo Alena, we don't want to know about it. So now, if you're not careful about getting rid of the foam, the Gemara says, Mishnah, if you drink that foam, kosher lecharson. Okay. Now, what's your option? So minchape, maybe your option is just blow it away. Is kasher that could cause some disease in the brain. Midcheye, let's say you push it aside with your hands, is kasher aniyusa, it will cause poverty. My takanta, so how do you get rid of it? L'shkuye. Let it sink to the bottom of the beverage. Wow, that's not the way we do it. We just skim it off. Okay, we use a spoon, so maybe that protects the hands. I don't know. L'karsam dechamra shikra. Let's say he went ahead, chas v'sholem, and he drank the foam that lingers on top of wine, is then shikra. He should drink beer. The shikra, what if he drank the foam on top of the beer? Is maya. He should drink water. The maya, apparently there's a foam on top of water. I guess they didn't have, the purification of water that we have. Unless they takanta. That's it, my friend. I can't give you any antidote. Poverty follows after the poor. I mean, the guy is so poor that he's drinking water. That he doesn't have any wine, he doesn't have any beer. All he drinks is water, and he drank the foam on top, lingering on top of the water, and that's it, my friend. He's very poor. They used to take their vegetables like a leek. I see it here with, what's it called, that green thing? All right, it'll come to me. Anyway, they bundle it up in bundles. Celery. Oh, that's what I had in mind. Celery, like a bundle of celery. Did you ever see that? A bundle of celery? They tie it with a rubber band, whatever they do. So Abai says that people are very careful, and you don't just grab a piece of celery out of the bundle, but they are makbid to untie the bundle and then take the vegetable. And why is that? You look so gluttonous when you just grab without even untying the bundle. You're so eager to get it down. But Omali Mar, what I found out is something much more dangerous, and that is Mishum Dekashi Likshafin. It triggers off you become susceptible to sorcery. Now, once we're on the topic of sorcery, the Gemara tells the following story. Rav Chisda v'Rab Bar Yehuda Avi Kosli b'Arba. They were traveling on a boat. Amr lahu ahi matranusa, some sort of Geisha woman, a noble woman, said to them, "Oh, sit in the let me sit next to you on the boat." So I don't know. They refused. I'm not sure why. Maybe because it's tznius reasons. I don't know. Lo asfur. So she gets very insulted. Amra milsa, and she, mumbles some sort of spell. Some sort of, witchcraft. Asarto liavra. She was able to freeze the boat. The boat was immobilized, couldn't move. Amruinu milsa. She didn't realize, didn't entertain thought didn't cross her mind that they too knew witchcraft and they could mumble something that would be an antidote to her witchcraft. And Sharyur, so they defreezed and mobilized the boat. Now she's so impressed with them that they were able to unfreeze the boat that she said, "My Avid l'chu. I'm an anti-Semite, and I would like to do you in, but I can't defeat you. Why? First of all, you won't use a piece of pottery to wipe your tush after you go to the bathroom. And you don't kill a louse by just banging it on your garment, but rather you'll make sure to shake it off before you kill the louse. And you would not take out a vegetable from the bundle, but first you would take apart the bundle. And it's very interesting. He says here in the name of the Marsha that it could very well be that the Rabbanan were not makpid on these three things. They didn't know about these three things. But when they found out, that these three things might make them exposed, vulnerable to sorcery, they started being makpid on this. The noblewoman did not notice that they recited a counterspell, so she thought that her spell to immobilize the boat had no effect whatsoever. So she figures, why can't I get these guys with my spell? The answer is because they're makpid on these three things. I used to think, if a vegetable fell from the table onto the floor, we wouldn't eat from it. Right? It's disgusting. But my Rebbe told me, okay, this sounds like a health issue, and it causes bad breath. I used to think, if you have, let's say, a drain pipe that brings, all the filth and so forth down this pipe, and nobody wants to sit under the drain pipe, is mishum shofchit, right? There's wastewater that's coming down. You don't want to get, showered by wastewater. And again, he's looking at it Abai from a very physical perspective, but normally mar mishum deshchiche mazikin. The demons love this place. Whatever there's waste, that's where they love to hang around. And the Gemara tells the story. Hani, how are we doing on the clock here? Not too great. Okay. Hanu shekoloi avidar chvitu chamra. There were porters that were carrying a barrel of wine. Boil it fuche. They wish to take a rest. And where do they find a place to rest? They put the barrel of wine underneath a drain pipe. And little did they know that there was a demon over there. And Poka, and the demon caused the entire barrel of wine to just simply burst. Also, and now they came with a monetary claim to the posek, the diet of the that's Marbar Avashi. And Marbar Avashi wanted to exact payment from the demon. Apik Shipure Shamte, he took out shofars, which they used to do when they put a person in cherem, and they excommunicated the demon. You and I wouldn't have thought that the demon could give 2 cents, could care 2 cents. But Asal Kameh, the demon come to complain. And he says, what did I do to deserve this? Amalei, amai tavid hachi. Why did you break their barrel? Amalahu, hechi avid bei osvei biznai. You know what? When they put the barrel down in the place where I occupy myself underneath this drain pipe, they actually hit me in the ear and woke me up from my sleep. I'm not responsible. They're responsible. Amalei, my Ravashi says, wait a minute. At my boys. We know that demons are not found in public. They go in private areas. So Atu the shittis, you were acting in an uncommon, irregular kind of a way. You deviated from the normal path. Why did you show up in public? And therefore you're responsible to pay. Seal Shlein, go and pay. Amalei, so the demon says to my Ravashi, Hashtanami, even though I accept your psak, and maybe I'm responsible, I have to compensate them, but I want you to set a time for me. The halacha is that when Bezdin paskins against someone in a monetary case, they give them 30 days to gather together the funds until they can pay back. Kovalei Zimne, so my Ravashi said, okay, come back in a month. And Kimot is in there a month later, and Yaakov. And where's the demon? How come he's not around? Kiyasa finally he shows up. Amalei, so my Ravashi says to him, Amilo Osis Bizim. No, why didn't you come at the end of the 30 days? That's what we made up. Amalei, the demon says to my Ravashi, hey, you're missing a certain piece of knowledge, a piece of information. It's very hard for me to come up with the money to compensate. Why? Because I can only gain access to something that's hefker. I can't take something that's owned, that's privately owned. And called midi ditzari v'chasim v'koil umini leslan reshusa l'mishkal minei. Right? I'm not authorized to take that which is clearly privately owned because it's wrapped, it's sealed, it's measured, it's counted. I have to find something that's ownerless. Again, there's a whole discussion here. Maybe, I know we're late, maybe I'll just say it very quickly that the halacha is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will only bestow a blessing on that which is somewhere min ha'ayin, that which is covered and hidden from view but not disclosed. So therefore, in order for the demon to find something that is ownerless, the truth is that anything that's, what do we say, sealed and wrapped and so forth and so on, can have an extra bracha min hashamayim. So there's no hefker. Anyway, it took him a long time till he could find something that was hefker, that's ownerless. I thought that hi, this shadi maya mi puma de chatzra. Right, it's interesting. You have a pitcher full of water, but you don't pour yourself a drink until first you spill out some of the water from the mouth of the pitcher, and then and only then you drink it. Mishum tzivta. I thought that you know what, on the surface of the water there might be pits or wood chips or something or other. And therefore, I want to just pour that out so I don't drink it. Amalimar, but Rabbah told me, no. Mishum de'ika mayim aroim. Apparently, there are demons that may have drunk from the water in the pitcher, rendered the water harmful, and if you spill off some of the water, then the water is harmless. Hahube bar shida, there was a certain demon. Right, shade is a demon. Dahavi be Rav Papa. Right? He was a good buddy, and he was always in the house of Rav Papa. Ozil lasuye maya minara, and he went out to bring water from the river. He was a good guy, a good demon, good guy. Right? You remember? Maybe you guys don't remember. Anyway, Mad Magazine, Spy versus Spy. You remember that? Anyway, so this demon was a good guy. And Yaakov, when he went to bring water from the river, he delayed in coming back. Ki yasa amalei amayim Yaakov. Why did you delay? Amalei ad cholfi mayim roin. Right? I was afraid of all the other demons, and there was water that was infected by these demons, and they were very harmful waters. And therefore, I had to wait until those harmful waters would pass downstream, right? The water would, and then I would bring it back for a papa's household that would be safe for consumption. But adahachi, in the meantime, here we turn to Kuvav and we finish it up. Chazanu de kashadu mayim ipubi. I saw that you guys anyway pour out the top of the water, so there's no more harmful water, even if it was drunk by demons. And Omar, had I known that this is what you do on a regular basis, and you're protected from the demons and the harmful waters, I would have brought it exactly on time. I wouldn't have delayed. Okay, so this is where we stop for today. Ki Asar Avdimi Omar, and again we're going to get back to how important my Rishonim and my Machronim and all sorts of things that happen, terrible things for people who are not careful about my Rishonim and my Machronim. So let's just see, tomorrow is Yom Chamishi. It's also, no, tomorrow is what? Yeah, Yom Chamishi, and it's also Rosh Chodesh. So I assume that we'll get together at noontime. Okay, great. So have a great day and Chodesh Tov.